Right, hello guys, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 settings for both the game itself and my Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, because yes, I do have settings that specifically help to tune your Elite controllers and make them good for Modern Warfare 3, and specifically, we're making them good for Season 4 of Modern Warfare 3. So if you guys want to see that, we're going to be starting with that. We're going to be talking about the Elite Series 2 controller and the settings that I use for Modern Warfare 3 here in Season 4, but I will have a timestamp, or at the bottom of the red bar, you'll be able to see there are timestamp parts of the video. If you want to go specifically to the Modern Warfare 3 settings, because you A, don't have the Xbox Elite Series controller, or don't care about the Xbox Elite Series controller settings for Modern Warfare 3, that's fine. That's no problem at all. Just skip ahead, go to that section, and you'll find some Modern Warfare 3 settings for Season 4 if you are looking for those settings. But we are going to be starting with, of course, my Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 Xbox Elite Series 2 controller settings. That also do work for Xbox Elite Series 1 and Xbox Elite Series Core, but I do use an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, so that's why I'm kind of saying the Elite Series 2 controller. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about the settings and what I use specifically for Modern Warfare 3 here in Season 4. So, as you can see, the main part here, the start off part, is the mapping, button mapping. It is all the same, pretty much. Nothing changes. A is A, B is B, Y is Y. But, of course, the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller does come with paddles. And this is the part of the controller that, a lot of people probably buy it for, is the paddles. And you're probably thinking, well, Taz, you've got B here, X here, Y here, and A here there. That may look like that on the screen. However, what I do actually have is only one paddle in. So the only paddle I am actually using is there for the A button, and it's showing a long paddle, but that is not actually the paddle I'm using. With the Elite Series 2 controller, you get short paddles and long paddles. I have a short paddle in that spot for the A button, just because it's more comfortable for me, and that's something I'm going to stress a lot when it comes to setting up your Elite Series 2 controllers. Make sure it is comfortable for you. That is the main thing with the Elite Series 2 controller, is to make the controller as comfortable for you as possible. And that's kind of what's going to make you shoot well, really, is making the controller as comfortable in your hands for yourself and your specific needs. You can use 2 paddles if you want to. You can use 3 paddles, 4 paddles. That's up to you. But for me specifically, I'm comfortable with just one paddle. I don't feel the need to have a paddle for Y here, or a paddle for X here, or a paddle for B. Even though those are actually mapped, I don't have those paddles in, so I never actually use those paddles whatsoever. And the reason I have A as well, simply when you go to see my Modern Warfare 3 settings, A for me will be jump. So, of course, this is going to allow me to jump shot in the middle of gunfights. It is very, very useful, of course, in Modern Warfare 3. Other than that, nothing changes. Literally, I just use a short paddle on the bottom right there for the A paddle to jump and do some jump shots in Modern Warfare 3. If you want to use more paddles, that's absolutely fine. If you want to use no paddles, that is also absolutely fine, because, of course, the Elite controller does come with more great settings. That means you don't necessarily just have to buy the controller just for the paddles that come with it. Anyway, so that's the button mapping part. Next up, we're moving on to left stick. Nothing crazy here. This is default normally radial, so if it's not, change it to radial. This is the best one for movement, I guess. It doesn't have to be really that precise, to be honest, because it's just movement. It doesn't really make a big difference. It's not going to change. It's not going to change the game for you changing this to aggressive or default or delayed. This does not make a big difference. So just keep this on default, keep it on radial. That's all you need. However, moving on, let's talk about the right stick. This is the secret sauce. If you are someone who is getting an Elite controller, or planning on getting an Elite Series 2 controller, or you are currently looking at this video, looking at the Elite Series 2 and what it offers you, or you have the controller and you are looking for a specific setting to change your game, this is the one. Change this to true diagonals and thank me later. This will change your game massively. This makes your shots infinitely more accurate, and I will stand by that so often. If you go back and look at all the other videos I've ever made with the Elite controller, this is something that has never ever changed, and this is why I stress it so often. This is more so for people who are new or looking for the controller, or you might be someone who's never seen my videos and have the Elite Series 2 and are looking for settings that works for you. Use true diagonals. Don't change the sensitivity curve. Keep it on default and just use true diagonals. This, I wish I had a hand cam for this, but this is tracking my movement on the right stick very precise, as precise as possible, and it is way more precise than axis independent and radial. True diagonals is what you want to go with. Not many controllers offer this. I believe the only controller that actually offers this is the PS5 controller. Possibly some off-brand controllers that aren't really well known as well, but the Elite controller does this very well. Use true diagonals, thank me later, and you'll see your shot just infinitely improve because of this setting. Next up, triggers. Again, this is something that's also very important. So left trigger, right trigger, I've got these set to 0 to 1, simply because as soon as I press the trigger, as you can see, that is a full press. What that means there is that is a full press. Whether you have the trigger stops on or off, you are doing a full press as soon as you hit the triggers on those controllers. The trigger stops themselves for my actual controller, on the left trigger, I actually have no trigger stops on. They are not on at all. And on the right trigger, I have the full trigger stop on. So as soon as I press the trigger, basically I can't press it anymore. But I still have this setting on anyway to make my press instant. Like instant. As soon as I hit that trigger, it is going. I'm going to be, you know, pressing RT as fast as possible, and that's going to be useful for, of course, you know, hitting your shots quickly. It's going to be useful for when you have like semi-automatic weapons as well, and you want to fire that weapon as fast as it possibly can. You want to have these settings. You want to have left trigger and right trigger on 0 and 1 each. Also, actually, I forgot whilst talking about left stick and right stick, thumbsticks. Okay, I'm going to talk about my thumbsticks that I use. Left stick on the thumbstick is default. It is a default Xbox thumbstick, and on the right stick is also a default Xbox thumbstick. However, I am using a tool Control Freak. Now, I'm not sponsored by Control Freak, but I will say Control Freak are a fantastic company, make fantastic thumbsticks, and I'm actually using a Black Ops 4 tool thumbstick from Black Ops 4. Like, I have had it that long. It is not broken. It is not worn away or anything. It is still working fine. The rubber's still on there, and it is super comfortable for being able to hit your shots with it. And it's just way, way better in my opinion. Yes, the Xbox Elite Series 2 comes with tool sticks itself, so if you don't want to invest in a tool thumbstick that might be more comfortable for you from Control Freaks, then just use the tool thumbstick that comes with the controller. That will do just the same job. But for me, I like using this tool thumbstick. It's a big rubber thumbstick. It's got a bigger surface area, and it's a lot more comfortable for my thumb to sit on, and it just makes my shots way more accurate. So again, left stick is default, nothing crazy because it's just movement. It's just a default Xbox stick. Right stick though, Xbox stick with a tool Control Freak on top. If you want to get the same effect without using a tool Control Freak, then just use the tool Xbox stick. And yeah, that's my thumbstick setup. Also, actually, small thing on top of that as well. If you guys didn't know, you get a little key with your Xbox Elite Series 2, which will look a little bit of a funny shape. It's a little silver key, which you'll see. Pull the thumbsticks out and you'll be able to turn and change the stiffness of the thumbsticks. That is something that is game changing. It's something you definitely want to do. Left stick, again, that is on default because it's just movement. You don't need this to be like more stiff or anything. However, on the right stick, change the tension on your thumbstick. Make it the maximum tension. The reason for this, it will make the stick more stiff and harder to like go off target or shake around or that. It will make it more precise for you. And having that little bit of feedback when you're pushing the thumbstick will make your shots more precise. It will make it harder for you to miss. And it'll make it harder for you to like be able to shake off of target. You will be more precise with your movement and more precise with your aim, with the right stick being more stiff. So yeah, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're setting the tension to maximum tension on your right stick, and left stick, just leave it as default. Right, moving on. Vibration, okay? Now, I turn this off in my Modern Warfare 3 settings anyway. However, turn this off on your controller as well. It's going to save the lifespan of your controller, and you don't need the controller shaking around your hand. It's not going to help your aim. It's not going to help your movement. It's, you know, imagine the controller just shaking around your hand like crazily. I can't understand people have this on. Do not have this on. Turn it off. Just make sure it's off. And again, it's going to save the lifespan of your controller, so make sure this is off. Finally, color. Change it to purple because more aim assist and you'll win more gunfights. I'm only joking, but customization's there if you want to. I've got it on purple just because it looks pretty. So yeah, that is the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller settings for Modern Warfare 3 here in Season 4. Any questions that you have about whether it be the thumbsticks, the triggers, what controller to get, because obviously there's the core, the Elite Series 2. I can answer those questions for you in the comment section. Any concerns you have, maybe other things like whether or not you should get a warranty or not, which I will stress you should get a warranty for these controllers. It is a fantastic controller, but it does have the tendency to break easily, okay? I am onto my third Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, and I know that sounds like a really bad thing, but I do play for quite a long period of time. Like, sometimes it can be 6 to 8 hour stints or 6 to 10 hour stints, and I use this controller like near enough every day. And for it, to me, it typically lasts about 2.5 to 3 years, which isn't too bad. I know it's going to sound a bit bad because obviously how expensive the controller is, but that's why you should get the warranty. The warranty massively makes it more valuable because the default warranty is only 1 year, but get an extended warranty, get a 3-year warranty, and it'll massively help you in the future. But yeah, any questions you have about the controller or my settings or setup for Modern Warfare 3 Season 4, or just in general the controller setup as itself, let me know in the comments down below. I'll happily answer them and give you guys the best tips and tricks that I can possibly help you with. But we're going to be moving on now. I'm going to make a cut, and we're going to go into the Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 best settings for your controller, guys. So yeah, let's get right into this Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 settings. Right, and welcome back, guys. Oh, hello to those of you who may have skipped to this segment of the video just specifically for the Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 settings. That is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that if you didn't want to see the Elite Series 2 controller setting. But for all of you now here for the Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 settings, we're going to get into it. We're going to show you those Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 settings, specifically for controller, of course, because as you can see, here we are, Season 4. What we're going to do is, though, share those settings and get those all-important settings for you guys to do your best here in Season 4. So yeah, let's get into it. So first off, we're starting with the controller. Button layout, I do actually have this changed to tactical. Reason for that, as you can see, the right stick is changed to basically stance, slide, and dive. This allows me to slide around the map, and then melee is my B button. Meleeing is not too important, you know, it's still useful to obviously have that option there, so being able to melee through B is a lot better, but it doesn't mean I'm meleeing accidentally in gunfights, and I'm able to do slide cancels around the map whenever I want to and not have my thumb off of the thumbstick. So yeah, I'd recommend playing on tactical. If you want to play on default, that's perfectly fine, but I'd recommend default or tactical, but tactical is the one that I go for. Next up, Bumper King, I have this off, do not need. Again, flipped, don't need this, but on PlayStation controllers, I believe this is actually quite useful, so if you want to try and use that on PlayStation controllers, that is perfectly reasonable, but on Xbox controllers, I would not recommend this. Stick layout preset, default, do not change that. Controller vibration, very important, turn this off, you do not need this on, you do not need the controller shaking around your hands whilst you're trying to aim and shoot, like, it's just not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. Next up, deadzone inputs. This is very important. Make sure you're changing this because I believe the default is at like 10, and that's way too slow. Like if your controller's getting a lot of like still getting stick drift at like 10 or anything higher, you need to change your controller. Just saying. But left stick min, I've got it on 2. This is like, so you know, it's just movement. It doesn't really do anything. Even if you have stick driftness, it's not really that bad as long as it's not too crazy. Left stick max, leave it on 99. Right stick, right. So some people set this to 2 or that just because obviously they've got new controls of that. Now, I completely understand that because obviously you'll be able to react a lot quicker than someone on a 5 on 5 like myself. But controllers will develop stick drift over time. No matter how much you look after your controller, it will develop stick drift. There's not much you can really do about it. You know, things like dust and that get in the controller and will increase the stick drift of your controller. So setting it to 5 means I'll never have to change this anytime soon unless my controller gets a seriously bad stick drift problem. And I recommend that you guys do the same thing so that you have that same aimed feeling throughout the time that you're playing. Not that you come on one day and it's at 2, then it's at 3, then it's at 4. Because you're going to have to readjust your aim because of the fact that you're having to change your right stick min because of the stick drift that you're getting. So make sure this is on 5 and keep it at that. Next up, left trigger and right trigger. I've got these at 0. What this means is as soon as you press the trigger, that trigger is going to happen. So as soon as you press left trigger, you're going to be aiming down sight. As soon as you press the right trigger, you're going to be shooting your gun. You're going to be, you know, firing that semi-auto weapon as quick as you possibly can. Make sure these are both on 0. Next up, we're moving on to aiming. These are very important, of course. Sensitivity. Now, I give some like generic numbers for this, but I use 5 and 5. Anywhere between 5 and 8 is what I'd recommend. But anything, like if you're one of those crazy people who plays on 2020, then go ahead, go nuts. As long as you can aim perfectly fine, then, and you know, you're comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine. But between 5 and 8 is what I'd recommend for the best possible aim. You can also change this as well, but I've never really messed with that. It doesn't seem to do anything for me. It just seems to be another way to fine tune that doesn't really make much of a difference. ADS sensitivity multiplayer, just leave it on 1. No need to change this. Sensitivity multiplayer, again, I do not change any of this. Vertical aim axis, again, do not change. Tactical stance, now I haven't really done anything with this. This is on 1 because you're going to find I actually have this pretty much, like, I don't use this in game. It does not matter. Tactical stance is only useful for obviously completing camo challenges. Other than that, don't use tactical stance in games unless like something crazy happens where there's a weapon build that actually makes this work. But most of the time, tactical stance is absolutely useless. I don't even know what's in the game, to be honest. It's a bit gimmicky. It doesn't really do much for you. Next up. This is very important. I'd be shocked if most of you aren't using this, but do use this. You can also use linear. I've heard linear is actually quite good this year, but you can use all 3 of these this year. Like, it's not a simple choice between standard and dynamic. However, I've stuck with dynamic because this option exists and is very, very useful. Pairing dynamic with your aim response curve slope scale, change this to either 0.60 or between 0.60 and 0.70. I have it on 0.65. This is the best. This here is the best setting in the game. Right, changing this to dynamic was already overpowered in the first place. But this aim response curve slope, I thought was actually completely useless at the start of the year. Change this. Make sure you change this between 0.60 and 0.70. Is absolutely going to change your game. You're going to notice the big difference. And go into combat training, by the way, before you use any of these settings online. Otherwise, you're going to think they're not good, you know. But go in there, make sure your aim is fine-tuned. And again, see if you like it on 0.60 or 0.65 or 0.70. Any of those 3 settings is what you should be using along with the dynamic curve type for your controllers. Next up, this is just on 1. Does not need to change, really. ADS sensitivity, transition, timing. I have this on instant. It should be on instant anyway, but that means, you know, your sensitivity takes over as soon as you aim down sight. Of course, you don't want any funny, weird, you know, feelings when you're trying to aim down sight. Custom sensitivity by zoom. This is actually quite useful, but I don't use this because I don't really snipe all that. But this is more useful for people who like sniping that. If you do and you want to like bump it up so you can quick scope and stuff a little bit better, feel free to do so. But I personally have this off. Target aim assist, of course, have this on. Do not turn this off. You'd be crazy to do that. If you're one of those people who wants to give yourself a challenge, then fine, feel free. But I wouldn't do it. And then aim assist type, right? The only two you should be using are Black Ops and Default. Do not use precision and do not use focusing. Unless you're sniping, because I believe these are actually quite useful for sniping, but typically you want to stay on Default or Black Ops. Now, I'll talk about how these actually work, because I know how these work. So Default has a bigger aim assist like grab. So as when you like scroll over an opponent, you'll see like there's you'll feel the aim assist take hold when you're like aiming over an opponent. But the Black Ops one is a lot stronger. However, it's a lot smaller than the aim assist, like the aim assist bubble than Default. So Default has a bigger aim assist bubble, but is less strong than Black Ops. And Black Ops has a stronger aim assist, but has a smaller little zone that you have to catch onto. So for me, I go with Default just because I want that aim assist to catch my aim, and then I do what I need to do with the controller to make that aim stay on target. Black Ops is good, but it is very like, how to put it, you'd have to, it's more useful for flicking. Like if you want to flick onto a target and you are someone who can get yourself sent on center target very quickly, then go ahead, go with Black Ops. But I'd personally say Default just because I want that bubble to catch my aim and then be able to control my aim myself. But yeah, that's what I use for aim assist type. Next up, gameplay, automatic sprint. Now, this is something that I'd either recommend either off or automatic tactical sprint. I have it off because I just don't like the feeling of having automatic tactical sprint on. I also don't find it useful for myself. It is, of course, very good. It is actually a very good setting. So definitely, if you want to take a hold of using automatic tactical sprint, then by all means do so. But me personally, I have this off. I don't really feel like it does that much for me. But it is a very good setting to have on if you want to use it. Next up, sprint tactical behavior I have on toggle, auto mode forward off. You can have this on if you really want to. This is a very important thing. This is going to save the lifespan of your controller as well. Have this on single tap run. This means as soon as you like, how would I put it, like click the stick, you are tactical sprinting. You don't want to have this on double tap because double tapping your left stick means by the time, like in a few years' time or even maybe in a few months, you are going to damage that stick. You are going to cause yourself stick drift on that stick because you're having to double tap the tactical sprint. And plus, you're just having more effort to being able to tactical sprint. So have this on single tap to run. Do not have this on double tap by any means. But these two are the best ones. But again, do not have it on double tap. Just make sure it is not on double tap so you can save the lifespan of your controller and actually be able to run when you want to run. Grounded mantle off, automatic airborne mantle off, automatic ground mantle hang off. Now, the reason I say all these together, these are all just different versions of mantling. Now, no, having these off does not mean you can actually climb a crate or that. It just means you have to go up to it more and be more precise. But when you're in the middle of a gunfight and you want to jump shot, you don't want to be accidentally like grabbing onto ledges and stuff because it's going to ruin your aim. You're going to start hip firing. You start doing some crazy thing. You might ruin your aim and completely throw you off what you're trying to aim at. Have all these off. This stops you from accidentally mantling in the middle of a gunfight when you're trying to jump shot. Slide dive behavior, I have this on slide only because this seems to be more responsive from what I've felt. So when I'm trying to just like slide and do the slide cancel around the map, this seems to be more like, how would I put it? It just seems to be more responsive with slide only. I do believe hybrid is also pretty responsive as well. But I personally like on slide only. Diving doesn't really do anything. It's fun little gimmick, it's always really cool. We love a good dolphin dive in that. But sliding is what you need. You don't really need the diving whatsoever. Plunging underwater does not matter. Free for all does not matter. Sprinting door bash, I have this on because obviously you want to sprint through the door and maybe catch someone by surprise using that door. Aim down sight behavior and hold. Change zoom onto whatever this thing is. I mean, I haven't changed it. Equipment behavior and hold. Weapon mount activation. Weapon mounting isn't very good, but you still kind of want to have that option just in case there's a moment you need. But in multiplayer, you don't really need this. Maybe Warzone a little bit different, but in multiplayer, I don't think I've ever weapon mounted really this year, to be honest. It's just not that useful. But ADS plus melee, just to have the option there, just in case I want to. And then weapon mount exit delay, I have it on instant. Tactical stance, like I said, I don't use this, but I have the setting there just in case. I don't have it set to off because, of course, we want to use it for those camo challenges. So I have it on ADS and down button just so I can quickly activate it when I need it. But other than that, I don't really use this setting at all. I don't use tactical stance whatsoever. But tactical stance behavior on toggle, tap to reload, apply all off, D-pad, and depleted ammo switch on so I know when I've lost ammo. 1x1 C4, manual fire behavior. Independent I've got, so when I fire the left trigger, the left gun's going to go off, then the right trigger is for when the right weapon's going to go off. I feel like that's normal. I don't think paired is the way to go. Short delay, free look, melee, short and hold. that is it for the controller settings. Any questions about that, leave them in the comments. I will happily answer them for you, of course, whether or not you want to know about like what sensitivities to use or any other sort of, you know, questions you want to have about the controller settings here in Season 4 for Modern Warfare 3. Next up, we're moving over to graphics. These are also very important. These do affect your aim a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a second. But on-demand texture streaming, if you want to stop yourself, well, if you feel like you're lagging in multiplayer and you have this setting on, turn it off, okay? I don't have this settings on. I don't see why you need this. It does not massively increase the textures. It says they're high-quality textures to download from the internet, and that it's supposed to make the game look more visibly better and that. It's not that good, okay? It doesn't do anything other than just add more lag to your game. You do not need this. Turn this off. It will massively help you and probably lower your ping in-game by having this off, so do not have this on. Next up, world motion blur and weapon motion blur. Have both of these off. As you can see, having this off is what the left looks like, and it's a more clear image. However, on the right, you can see it's blurry. You can't see things. Have this off. You do not need these on. Having these on means you get a more clean, sharp image, and you'll be able to see people and spot people. Maybe those people hiding in the corners or people coming around corners very quickly. But if you have it blurry, you're just not going to see anything. Look how distorted that image is. You are not going to see anything, or you're going to miss someone's head or something, or someone lying on the floor because you've got it as a distorted image. So have those off. Film grain, same thing again. Look how clear the image on the left is to the right. You just got loads of noise on your screen and stuff, and it makes the picture look more grainy. Have this completely off. Set this to 0. Depth of field, again, set this to 0. What this means is when you're aiming down sight, the things around are blurry and that. Again, it's going to make it less, like, you know, you're going to make it more like less likely for yourself to spot those enemies lying on the floor that whilst you're aiming down sight because you've got a blurry image around your weapon. So have this off as well. Fidelity cast, this is very useful, especially on those older consoles. If you are on Xbox One or PlayStation 4, Fidelity cast, have it on and set the strength to 100. Between 80 and 100 is perfectly fine, but I set it to 100. It makes the game way more sharper, way more crystal clear, and way more easier to spot people having this on. So definitely set that to 100, in my opinion. But you can set it to 80 as well. Eco mode preset, I have this off just in case this does actually make the gameplay less less full power. I don't really trust it too much. It is supposed to be energy savings for your console and stuff, but I've got it off anyway, just in case. This as well, this is all dependent on your monitor. I can't really speak for whether or not your monitor is compatible or not. That's something you're going to have to work out for yourselves. But if it is, have this on. Do not have 120Hz refresh rate off. This is 120 FPS. This will allow you to play at, you know, double the frame rate of most people if they aren't using 120 FPS monitors. And it's just night and day better. You'll feel more precise with your aim. You will feel more responsive. The night and day difference between 60 FPS and 120 FPS is insane. So definitely have this on if you have the ability to do so. And then finally, field of view. This is massively important, okay? Now, I've had this set to 102 affected and wide, and this is just for me. This is the perfect, like, this is what works very well with my sensitivity in that. And you want to make sure you're getting this right, because if you don't get this right, this is going to massively affect the way your sensitivity and your aim feels, because it's the screen size, basically. It shows how everything, how big or small everything is going to appear to you is your weapon, is your field of view. So make sure you're setting this setting right. I'd have it between 95 and 105. And then it depends. You can use it on default, narrow or wide, but I'd go with wide. I think wide is the best. It gives you less visual recoil. That's what I've noticed. So use weapon of field of view and have it on wide. For me, it gives, and I believe everyone else as well, there's a lot of other people who use this setting too, gives you less visual recoil on your weapon. And it just makes your gun feel like it's just laser accurate. So definitely 102 for me, affected and wide, but anywhere between 95 and 105, and then affected and wide is what I'd go with. Third-person view of view, does not matter. I don't play third-person in modes. And then next up, we're moving up to the first-person and third-person camera movement. Have these on least. This means your screen's not going to be shaking around as much whilst you're trying to shoot, whilst you're trying to move, whilst you're doing all these things. You want to have these on as minimum as possible. So set your first-person camera movement to least of 50% and your third-person to least 50% if you play the third-person modes, of course. Inverted flashbang, this is all personal preference. I have it on. I just prefer to not get blinded by a white flash on my screen. First person ADS. For third person, again, I don't really play it though. Brightness, this is again dependent on your monitor, so you have to fine tune this for yourself. But I've got mine, as you can see, it's perfectly visible for me. Next up, safe area. This is also important. Have this as minimum as possible. Now, the reason you're probably thinking, like, this is kind of crazy, the reason you want it as minimum as possible, this affects where your minimap in that is placed on the screen. Having it on minimum as possible means your minimap comes closer to the center of your screen. So when you're looking at the minimap to obviously look at red dots and stuff and whatever's going on the minimap for like spawns and stuff, you'll be able to still see the center of your screen and possibly catch an enemy whilst you're trying to look at the minimap instead of having to look all the way to the top left-hand corner of your screen. And, you know, some of you might play on 50-inch TVs on that, and you're going to be just rotating your head like crazy. But if you move this more to the center, you're going to make it more likely that you can see things on the minimap and still see what's at the center of your screen with your weapon, you know, be able to aim at opponents and do what you need to do with your weapon whilst looking at the minimap. So definitely have that on minimum. And then next up, moving on to audio. This isn't too crazy because, to be honest, a lot of people are just using dead silence anyway. It doesn't really do too much. So I've got on headphone bass boost, master gain volume. This is my settings for audio if you want to copy these down. Again, I don't really soundhole too much in this game. It's not very useful. The only way you can really soundhole people, at least on console, is if someone's not using dead silence. If they're using dead silence, good luck. It's not happening. But if you're on PC, then there are specific settings for that. I'm not going to reveal those settings because I do think it's a form of cheating. But if you want to go find those audio settings, I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there online for those of you who are on PC. Voice chat does not matter. Microphone again. It's not going to change your game or anything. And then, yeah, that's all the audio. And finally, we come to the interface. So this is all on default. This does not matter. But this is quite important. This is your color customization. This will make your game look a lot better. And so I personally have it on custom, and I've got all these things here changed. I've also got color filter 2 on, color filter target to both, and then the intensity to 100 for both. This is going to make your game look a lot more clear, a lot more colorful, a lot more bright, and you're just going to be able to see and spot things a lot better. And again, I changed these colors based off what I want to see. So me, I can see that I'm a white marker on the minimap. My team will be green. My party members, if I party up, people will be blue, and then enemies will be red. But if you want to change those to whatever colors you want, then that's perfectly fine. But again, use color filter 2, use both, and then set the intensity 100. It makes your game look visually better massively. Next up, minimap. This should be on square on default. Do not change this. As you can see, the square minimap is bigger than the circle minimap. That's the big reason for using the square minimap. Shouldn't be using the circle minimap. Minimap rotation I've got on. Horizontal compass, don't really need. Crosshairs, I've got these on, and I also have the center dot on. That's very, very useful for getting yourself on target when you're not already aiming down sights. So definitely have that on, in my opinion. And then next up, hit marker visuals on. You want all that stuff on so you know you're getting feedback and knowing whether or not you're hitting your shots. And then finally, your server latency, have this on, your packet loss on, so you can know what your connection's like when you go into a game, of course. But that is it. That is everything for the Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 best settings for controller. Any questions about the settings that you've seen in today's video, whether it be the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller settings for Modern Warfare 3 in Season 4, or specifically the Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 settings, leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'll happily answer any questions. Even if you're on PlayStation, of course, this does not, these settings are for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, if you're using a controller, of course. And, again, like I said, if you want to know anything about today's video, or you want any more information that you didn't think was clear in today's video, leave it in the comments down below. I'll answer it as best as possible and give you my best possible tips and tricks for you guys to help you out here in Modern Warfare 3 in Season 4. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe notifications on. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.